Hello. Hello. We are live, only barely, and apparently everything is working. If I freeze up, it's because I'm having last minute internet issues, which I hope to resolve as we are live. But regardless of that, now, today I have a very special guest, Mr. Louis de Cordier, who is an archaeologist who has an amazing story, a forbidden story. And he's gone against incredible odds to, it would seem, he feels he has discovered the Labyrinth of Egypt, which to historians or people with interest in this, it is a lost classical monument from antiquity, which was supposedly even grander than the pyramids. And it was written about.
So it looks alone in the show here. I don't know where Brandon. Yeah, he was talking about some internet connection issues before. So I don't know what to say or what to do now because I don't know if I'm still on or not. Yeah.
Oopsie.
Yes. Yeah.
Oopsie.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
I don't know how much you heard. It's still not on.
Okay.
I only have 2 bars of internet, so I don't know what's going on. Sorry. That's not good. If it happens, I don't know. Oh, there we go. All green. Okay, should be okay now. Pardon me. Pardon me for that.
Okay.
That short intro. So I was just about to read out the quote from Herodotus regarding the labyrinth, so everybody knows what we're talking about. The Egyptians made a labyrinth. This is Herodotus, the famous Greek historian, who was the Greek author Herodotus, 44 BC to 425 BC. In his book Histories, he wrote about the structure unsurpassed in greatness, surpassing even the Egyptian pyramids. The Egyptians made a labyrinth which surpasses even the pyramids. It has 12 rooted courts with doors facing each other. 6 face north and 6 south, in 2 continuous lines, all within the outer wall. There's also a double set of chambers, 3,000 altogether, 1,500 above and same number underground. We learned through conversation about the labyrinth's underground chambers. The Egyptian caretakers would by no means show them, as they were, they said, the burial vaults of kings who had first built this labyrinth and of the sacred crocodiles. The upper we saw for ourselves, and there were creations greater than humans can do. The exits of the chamber and the mazy passages hither and thither through the courts were an unending marvel to us. All of this, over all this, a roof made of stone like the walls, but the walls are covered with cut figures, and every court is set apart with pillars of white stone, which precisely fitted together. Near the corner where the labyrinth stands a pyramid, 240 feet high, on which great figures are cut. A passage of this had been made underground. So an amazing underground labyrinth that it surpasses the pyramids in majesty. So that is pretty interesting. Supposedly it was a complex structure that once stood near the foot of the pyramid of Amenemhat III. So that is what we're talking about. Now, Louis was part of a team. I shouldn't even say any further. Maybe I'll just let you say, but how it came about, and what you found, and what happened after. So, how about that? Louis is an archaeologist. I'll let him introduce him. So go
Okay.
ahead.
Yeah. So actually, I stepped into it as an artist, like as a contemporary artist. Yeah, that was how I initially got involved. Seeing there were some people, um, so who actually initiated my interests in the Labyrinth of Egypt. It really started decades ago with this artist, like this Spanish artist Juan Munoz, who gave me like a very impressive book about Athanasius Kircher, which is this Jesuit priest from the Renaissance area, and he made some really nice pen drawings. Yeah, and in this book, this art book, there were quite some drawings about the labyrinth of Egypt, also as well of the Ark of Noah and all these Egyptian other how to say ancient stories and so on. Um, um, like a universal book. He was called the first kind of Renaissance man. So Athanasius Kircher, he was a Jesuit priest. Um, so and ever since when I came across this labyrinth, I was always really fascinated. But that at the time, that was some years before. That was like in 2006, 2005. I got really interested also in what's now still on as this how to say um, these massive earth changes that happened in the past, like those initiated by those books by Graham Hancock and others who yeah wrote and studied, and like Robert Schoch, that in the past some 12,000 years ago there happened some huge cataclysms, um, which initiated the end of the last ice age, and then we actually entered the interglacial for which we're in since the last 12,000 years. um, and but interglacials, they only mostly last 12,000 years. So we are at the end of our interglacial and at the start of the new ice age. um, and that's really scientifically proven that we went through several ice ages as well, and interglacials, and then there's very cyclical events. So that's the whole point, to come with the idea of these, how to see, Mayans who pointed out that around 2012 ends this big cycle, and we will start a new one. And then even the Egyptians had many written stories about these ancient cataclysms, and certainly back in the days. Sorry, I'm gonna mute for a minute.
Someone asks, can you spell the Jesuits' art book's name, please? Someone wants to know the book.
It's a complex name. It's Athanasius Kirchner. Kirchner, I
So
think.
good
Yeah,
luck.
yeah.
Good
Yeah,
luck. There
Athanasius
you go.
Kircher. Kircher. Yeah.
So you were going. I thought you were going to give me a history of yourself, but you've leapt into the history of the world here. But I'm sure
Yeah,
you're
so just
coming around.
to be able to where I'm coming in. Yeah.
Okay.
So and that was like my fascination point, with this ancient Egyptian, but completely as an amateur, and I was like into art. I was quite an international. I am still am international contemporary artist, doing like exhibitions all over the world, from Korea all over to Switzerland. I got like a gallery there and so on, and I was very into combining art and science. Um, and very fascinated by astronomy, and capturing deep space with radio telescopes, and then translating these things in electromagnetic installations, and using these vibrations and sounds into contemporary immersive
Okay.
art
I didn't know. I
installations.
thought you were an archaeologist. Okay, so you're an
Yeah,
artist.
yeah. I studied architecture. Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Oh.
yeah,
Okay.
and then suddenly, this whole fascination came. So I said, from I want to bring this art aspect further, because like this book of yours, you wrote like a very nice book about modern art. Yeah.
Right.
And
Thank you.
so I really felt this thing myself. I said, I want to bring it, like, or even disconnect from this modern art world, or reconnect with the past in some kind of really deep way. um, and I said, yeah, so everything I know everything I studied and all the relationship I had. I said I'm going now to apply them to move this project forward. And it was the scanning of the Labyrinth of Egypt. So the Labyrinth of Egypt, like you described, you wrote the Herodotus description. It's a massive building situated near Hawara, described by not only Herodotus but Strabo, Plinius, even visited by Roman emperors and so on. It's like one of
Right.
the most described building of antiquity. So
Right. Right.
so I said,
So
yeah,
it's at the location. It's at the location that they said it, that it was, like,
yes,
everyone knows where it is. It just hasn't been
yeah.
properly scanned. Is that the story? Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
when I
Yeah.
came there was already like a plate who indicated labyrinth and things like this, because
Okay.
many archaeologists also looked for it in the past.
Mhm.
So I set out this thing from let's prove once and for all if the labyrinth is here or not, because the last research that ever been done to look for the labyrinth of Egypt was done by Flinders Petrie in 1888, which is over 200
Petrie.
years. Yeah.
Yeah, good old Petrie. So he
So
had his
he
hands in it too. Right. Right.
Yeah, because the first thing that he did was measure the pyramids, or the ground ones, and then the second thing was he launched himself to find the legendary Labyrinth of Egypt, because not only Petrie was interested, but we had also Napoleon who looked for it. We had these classic
Right. Right.
Belzoni and all these big names from the early archaeologists. So they were all looking for the Labyrinth of Egypt. So most of them, even Schliemann, the one who actually discovered Troy, he also passed by up there to have a look all at Hawara. So because the description by Herodotus was very accurate, he said there's the labyrinth of the pyramid of Hawara, and it's situated at the entrance of the Fayum Oasis, and it's along this channel. So the location was very well known. Um,
Right.
so
That's the other thing. The other thing I wanted to just mention, I should have said at the start, is this story isn't just about archaeology and his discoveries. It actually, there's an element here of great intrigue and sort of there's gatekeepers and people's lives have been at risk, and even the knowledge of this is somewhat dangerous. It's like whatever you've discovered that you're going to reveal to us is somewhat dangerous information. So for all you listening, you're all potentially on the list. I'm
yeah,
kidding.
because
But it's true. There's an
I've,
element
I've,
of
I've
serious intrigue here.
ever
Go on.
since, because when I arrived, actually flew under the radar of many big authorities. So it was and it was also very stealth, very fast, very rapid. So and suddenly we were able to. Yeah, we'll tell you later. And then suddenly it completely exploded in the media, and then we had the biggest, how to say, um, yeah, censorship that ever done that is in 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 the history of archaeology. Suddenly all canals websites were taken off. Everything was completely shut down, and that was like pretty amazing. But that's how
Mhm.
will come, because the biggest thing is why this labyrinth is so important, because when I pointed out about these ancient I didn't yet come to that point, is that before the last ice age, before the end of the last ice age, before we said that there were like ice age civilizations. Yeah.
Mhm.
And now we connect back to the mythical Atlantis, um, which is now like Walt Disney fight or something. But it's authors like Plato who wrote about it. Not only Plato, but also even the Egyptians wrote about Atlantis, even on their walls in temples, indicating this ancient land where they're coming from, and so on.
Oh, Plato.
And
Plato learned of it from Egypt through who was a different philosopher or historian who studied in Egypt. That's how
yeah,
Plato learned. Yeah.
he was it was written in the Timotheus and Critias interview, and
Mm.
and 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 there they refer to this ancient Egyptian priests, because one of them had a talk with an ancient Egyptian priest,
Yeah.
So it was, and this priest also indicates like now 9,800 years ago, and very accurate stuff. So it's actually well documented.
Yeah.
So
There has to be some
so
truth to it. Whatever they're talking about, there's some truth to it,
and
I would think.
so in Egypt, even the big pyramids inside, there is no written legacy. It's just like empty. It's completely, there's no hieroglyphs there. There's no,
Someone,
it's
right?
even today it's even very difficult to date them, because it's the dating, it's done by like a quarry mark, and most even insiders really think that the quarry mark is even like a forgery. So we don't know what the true date of the pyramids are.
Mm.
So but the labyrinth itself is described as a giant underground, I'd say, uh, building with
Hmm.
3,000 rooms, but all the rooms are completely, like Herodotus and the other how do you say, authors, ancient authors describe,
Historians.
completely, historians, yeah, like, and carved with hieroglyphs. So in essence, it's a giant stone book, a giant stone library, and it refers, so because there are other people like these visionaries, seers like Edgar Cayce and so on, who describe it as the Hall of Records, which means that this is like the database of this ancient civilization, and that's up there. Yeah, and that's why so many people are extremely fascinated by it, because if we are able to enter that building, then it will open the Pandora's box of our history. And every year, I just witness more and more information coming out. But this building, which is the biggest building described by in Egypt, described by these ancient authors, it's we scanned the whole building, um, and so on. But still today, we were not able to really get foot, I don't know how to say, our first shovel in there. So what happened? I was able to set up an expedition,
Hmm.
a scientific one, to scan the labyrinth with the most state of the art equipment at the time in 2008. And so just not GPR, but we just had like over 10 different techniques. We had GPR tomography, electroresistivity, we had electromagnetics. So we have like a whole spectrum of different tools, um, and every tool has a specific, how to say, way of seeing underground. And when you put all these things overlapping each other, and they all indicate the same thing, then you might say that you have like a very accurate scientific proof that something is there. And so
Right.
what the result of the National Research Institute of Astronomy and Geophysics was, the team of 16 geophysics, was that up there at Hawara there are giant underground, um, how to say, rooms, and yeah, and a lot of them, because we only were able
Three
to
thousand. Perhaps 3,000.
maybe 3,000, but
Yeah.
we are not able to actually scan the whole labyrinth because it's so huge. So we did
Mm.
two plots, and those plots were already several football fields big. So,
Mm.
but it's the extent of the labyrinth is even described by Herodotus, and then later proved by Flinders Petrie, is 300 on some 250 meters. So it's big, because Flinders Petrie, he was able to locate like a giant underground slab of concrete, so
Okay.
at 5 meters below ground. And
Right.
he assumed from, okay, this is a slab of concrete, so we probably, this is the foundation of the labyrinth, and and that's it, and everything which is
Oh, he figured it
above.
was gone. He figured it was long gone. That was the foundation, and it
Yes.
was level. I see.
Yeah, there was a 5 meters, and that the labyrinth was gone.
I was going to say,
Um,
why didn't he keep digging? But yeah, so he assumed it was gone. Right. 5 meters. Well, 5 meters isn't that far. Why would he assume that? If it had 3,000 rooms underground, you would think that
yeah,
wouldn't be the case.
and so my assumption, I had the same assumption as you. I said from, yeah, let's just scan what's beneath this concrete slab of several meters thick, and then we will
Right.
see if it's like once and for all finished with the labyrinth and destroyed in ancient times,
So
possibly
you found the slab that Petrie uncovered. Was it still uncovered?
so the slab is at 5 meters below ground, and so we just scan below it, and
Yeah.
then and all the big structures start appearing below the 5 meter slab. So and that was the how to say the first big thing that we actually, yeah, we finally, there was like some kind of solid scientific research that indicated that below Flinders foundation, there are way more structures and walls with really thick walls,
Hmm.
because if you the pyramid which is built on top of the labyrinth is a very fascinating pyramid as well, because the underground of the pyramids doesn't matches the above ground appearance of like a melted mud brick pyramid.
Hmm.
So it's like the underground is very solid, massive, and extremely complex, with really like in Indiana Jones type of rolling walls and slabs who can slide, and even the tomb chamber had, yeah, it's what made out of one stone which is 7 meters long and so 5 meters wide, one block, and has one plate who moves on top of it with some kind of very sophisticated, yeah, system of sand that, yeah, went away and so
Yeah.
on.
So as you can hear, someone made a comment. A friend of mine, Ashin. Ashin, you're very
Yes,
cheeky. He said, "Is this the plot of Stargate SG-1 again?" Lol. And he's just joking around. But like obviously, this is not. You can hear from what Louis is describing. The science is sound. This is not like conspiracy. He actually went there with expensive equipment and discovered something, made a discovery. In fact, your discovery, as you told me before we went live, was you were vindicated by various professional archaeological institutions and so forth. Maybe you want to list some of those so people don't think we're talking conspiracy. Like this is all
yeah.
really
So
very real. Maybe we should get into that.
so when I stepped into it, I I stepped into it, like I said, as a contemporary artist.
Yep.
So and there were many archaeologists who were very eager to move that project as well forward. So I was able to actually get University Ghent on board, with several I see professors there. And then I was able, by getting University Ghent on board, I was able to pull in the National Research Institute of Astronomy and Geophysics, because such an institute, which is a very established institute in Egypt, and it's the main one actually, who is and the only who is able to do all these research deeper than 8 meters. Because if you bring in scientific, how to say, scanning equipment in Egypt, and you want to go deeper than 8 meters, then you need a military clearance.
Ooh.
So therefore, many archaeologists actually need to cooperate with the National Research Institute, because otherwise they are unable to go that deep.
Is that because
So
they're worried? They're worried of another Tutankhamun, and then all the stuff all the treasures of whatever tomb they discover are taken back to the British Museum. They want to make sure it stays in Egypt. Is that part of their?
exactly,
Is that
because
exactly it?
everything that is scanned needs to go through all these, yeah, military, uh, how to say, commissions. Because if you apply for just scanning such a building, you need like 6 or 7 permissions, not only from one university, but also from the Department of Military, from the Department Ministry of Antiquities, of this the Council of Antiquities. It's like an enormous yeah, feat to be able to, and then of course you need to be able to find the funding for all of this. So that was
Mm,
one of the biggest problems I have faced in the initially, the funding element. And then I
mm,
decided, because so many people, yeah, are saying from, this so it's such an important building, and everybody so fascinated by it. But so far, yeah, at that time, nobody actually was willing to put money on the table to actually, how to say, do the scanning, because at the time, everybody was saying, yeah, there's nothing there anymore, because Flinders Petrie, he once and for all proved that there was nothing there, and that lasted for 200 years. So no
Mm.
archaeologist went actually deeper, because Flinders Petrie said no, no, nothing was there, and that was like once and for all finished. Um, and then I designed this golden sun disk, which is like a plate, circular, and I put quite a lot of astronomic and yeah, uh, ge- geological data on it, also esoteric stuff, and I was able to sell that one as a fundraiser to be able to fund that project, and I was able to get, yeah, the sufficient interest to be able to actually realize it. So
Right. So anybody you showed your data to, anybody serious, institution confirmed that there was something there, and that Petrie was wrong. Pretty much, you can say
yeah,
that
but
unequivocally,
we
right?
had like, yeah, we had like a really big conference at the Ghent University, in
Hmm.
their main hall. Yeah, more than almost 500 people could enter. There was like presence of NBC Universal, ABC News, all kinds of new channels. But the thing was that they said an extraordinary claim needs extraordinary proof, because
Hmm.
it's a because the claim is really huge, because the claim is, we discovered, or actually proved scientifically, that there is still a lot of spaces down there which are still not, how to say, explored,
Hmm.
and therefore, and yeah, because this lid might go off, and then we have like the Hall of Records. We might have like, how to say, all the scientific data from the ancients, indicating the start of a new ice age, which would be initiated by a solar nova, um, according to many people who studied the topic. Um, and by the way, the sun is behaving really weird the last 400 years. So um, it's a big thing. So, and then they said at this conference, the only proof to be able to know that's there, we need to do an excavation. Yeah.
Yeah.
um, and that's what I have been trying to do ever since, and not
Since 2008.
myself. Yes,
So
yes,
how many years is that? 14 years?
yes, more or less. So, and I was not the only one who applied for excavation.
More.
Um,
Sorry.
yeah, because there were other teams as well, but none of them actually was able to get through the wall of yeah, getting the permission. Um, uh,
So the Egyptians aren't themselves excavating? No, as far as you know, or maybe they
they
are.
always say that they are going to do it themselves, and you have this man Zahi Hawass, because at the time he was, in 2008, he was the minister, and actually the secretary general of the Ministry of Antiquities. He
Hmm.
was the big chief at the time. He was at as prime of his of his power and things. He was like, but then, because as soon as we actually scanned the labyrinth, only months later, we had already a team from Poland, together with the University Cairo, who wanted to continue the research there. So they actually redid all our scanning. So they had also like a professional scan team from Poland. They did the whole to actually, and they said, yeah, we confirmed. So it's not only my team who actually
Okay.
did it. It was
Yep.
completely confirmed, and they confirmed also things that we also didn't communicate. So let's say that the pyramid itself has like an orientation, which is north south, like very straight north south.
Hmm.
Um, but the entrance is at the south side, which is abnormal, because most pyramids have a north side entry. So, so, but the thing is, this pyramid is supposedly be the second pyramid of Amenemhet the third, and
Hmm.
it's because he already built another pyramid. So this pyramid is there, and he said, yeah, because he built a labyrinth, or at least some buildings on top of it. Yeah, this labyrinth, this pyramid is dedicated as well to Amenemhet III. But
So
the
what was
understructure.
the do you know sorry, one thing I don't know, and maybe you do, and I'm not sure, what was the point of the labyrinth? Like, what was its purpose? Was it related directly to the pyramid as something to do with his,
Yeah.
his tomb, or was it had it some other purpose? Do you know? Someone asked
So
that. I'm not actually sure. I don't know.
it's multi-purposed because it's an ancient building, and every literally, because how to say, in the time of Amenemhet III, which is around 5,000 years ago, yeah, there was like a temple on it, but the understructures were already there. So, and those might have been way older. So now, if you go back into time, now people think in the past, Cairo, you have Cairo, and all the ships from the Mediterranean, they entered by the Delta, but that was not the case in ancient times. So they all came through Alexandria, and there were some inner seas, and then they came through Lake Morris, which is this giant lake. It's still there partially, and then they all had to pass through this channel towards the Nile, and so this labyrinth was positioned very strategically there next to this channel. So, and it was a sophisticated system with irrigation and valves, so that all
Mhm.
these ships could pass. So it might be like, yeah, it's was definitely positioned in a very strategic way as well.
Okay.
So it was like possibly trade, commercial, education. Was There was also a very big spiritual center there related to the crocodiles. So
Mhm.
now it's somewhere in the middle of a forgotten desert, but in the past it was like a giant, how to
It was a
say,
hub.
node, a hub,
It was
a hub.
active
Yeah.
hub, right? Someone says here, and I read that ages ago, but I forgot. Daedalus is said to have helped design the labyrinth, as in Daedalus and Icarus, I think, right?
Yeah.
Daedalus,
So
who the great genius of ancient Greek myth, which is great. I
I,
mean, what a great, maybe it's true.
so Strabo, which is this ancient author, I think it was Strabo of I don't know, of, or Diodorus Siculus, or maybe both. So they said that the Daedalus first visited the labyrinth of Egypt, and there he was inspired to build the labyrinth of Crete. And then the same author wrote that the labyrinth of Crete is already gone, but the labyrinth of Egypt is still there.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, I see.
That was the link with the Daedalus. So there are a lot of historic, really big connections towards, and also because Herodotus also described as of one of the biggest buildings, even more impressive than the pyramids of Egypt
Yeah, I
together.
mean, and the pyramids
And
back in the day were even more impressive than they are now because they were covered in marble and gold, as if they weren't impressive enough as they are. I mean, so this is even more impressive. It must,
yeah,
and whatever's under there, it's got to be amazing. And it's pretty. This is a great. This is why this story is more amazing and hard to believe, yet it's not really conspiratorial, as you can see, or outrageous or hard to believe that you found whatever it is.
yeah,
It's just
and it made
that it's
questions.
all that you've had such a struggle, even just trying to get people to know, and like coming on my humble little podcast when you should be on Joe Rogan and all these things. But maybe you will be yet.
Yeah,
Maybe we can get the message out more, anyways, because there's much more to the story. People have died apparently over this now. So
yeah.
we must keep that in mind. I want to make one more comment. Someone says, so people know about like some of the history of it. The ancient account make mention of it. The upper and lower areas, but only the upper areas were accessible to visitors. That's what Herodotus said, and what I read there. They could only tour the upper area. The lower areas were where the kings, and according to Herodotus, the crocodiles, where the kings of the crocodiles were buried. And that is fascinating, of course. This is why we all love Egypt. I mean, what an amazing thing to do. But sorry, go on. So you scanned it, you discovered it. So we're up to that point. So then,
So yeah, and
and
then we
then you got
starting
shut down.
seeing all these anomalies, like the orientation of the understructure of the pyramid is out of angle. So it means that the pyramid is just built on top of this underground complex structure. And we see, and Herodotus also described that this underground structure of the pyramid has a channel and connection to the labyrinth. And that what my team, proved, and also the team of the Polish, together with the University of Cairo, they proved it, and also that the orientation of the pyramid itself is also out of angle with so many degrees. And then we had this.
So what does that mean? I don't understand. It's out of angle. So
So
and what does that
it's
mean?
not really facing the same, how to say, orientation as the
Like
pyramid. So
astronomically,
that is
or
like, yeah, so that is like this, yeah.
oh, I
And then
see.
we had
Okay, over.
this
So
they call
you
it
mean you mean it's sinking into the labyrinth? It's sinking underground. Is that what you mean? Like it's
no, that
like the
that's
Tower of
that
Pisa or something? No.
that the labyrinth itself is actually, the orientation is slightly off, out of angle compared to the orientation of north south.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So
Right.
yeah, so it's not really like perfectly aligned with the pyramids.
Okay.
And
Okay.
even the building underneath the pyramids, the whole complex system is also out of angle.
Why
So,
would they do that?
so
That's great. That's weird
that's
for them.
weird
They're
because
normally all about correct
and
angles.
and connecting with that it's the only pyramid with a south entrance. So so that the big assumption that we can make here is that the pyramid is just built on top of an older existing building, so that
Right.
actually the underground was never intended to be like, I'd say, uh, a sarcophagus tomb, like that it's just
Right.
like an entrance. And this entrance, in the 1830s, we had this French engineer, the same guy, Louis de Belfons, who also built the Suez Canal. He suddenly decided to make like a channel completely across the labyrinth zone, so it's submerged like a big part of the labyrinth zone, but as well the pyramid itself. So when Flinders Petrie entered in 1888, he was already up here in mud and trying to figure out the how the inner structure looked like. So
Mm.
so there was never an accurate dry, how to say, research.
Right.
um, and and still today the pyramid cannot be entered, it's completely blocked by submerging, like groundwater. And
Is it?
and yeah, because also the pyramid itself, because it's like a mud brick pyramid, it
Mm.
works as a wick, so it wicks the water up, so the water in the pyramid is way higher than in in the channel itself. So,
Crazy.
and that's
So you
also
could
one
go
of the
into it.
reasons.
You could. Someone could go into it with scuba gear or something like that. Is that
Yeah, so that's what they did actually, yeah.
they did?
Yeah, yeah.
What they find?
So yeah, but at a certain moment you get completely blocked by rubble. So one of my
Oh,
next
okay.
steps to do, how to say, continue this project was also like not only do like a soul like an excavation project, but really set up like a master preservation project, so that the pyramid is completely preserved, that it's completely drained. We know what the problems are. um, and then we are able to do like in non-intrusive archaeology, so not starting to dig all the way to the labyrinth area, but just
Hmm.
do some hole drillings and then be able to enter the cameras. Because in the last several years, like now it's like 7 years ago, we did also satellite scans. So that's like yeah, military technology who entered into the space of yeah, civic use, um, and mostly even performed by ex-military persons. So so and that revealed for me also like something even for myself mind blowing, because I always assumed, according to Herodotus writing, you have like an upper layer and an underground layer, and the
Hmm.
underground layer was not for visits, but the upper layer was yeah, the most prestigious one, and the down there he was not able to enter.
Hmm.
So, and it's known that Amenemhet III, yeah, built this big palace on top of it, and we still see lots of old pillars and rumble and uh, but the underground structure was always like a mystery. So there were also done by this Polish team together with University of Cairo. They did also bore drillings, and they confirmed that that the mother rock was not at 5 meters like Petrie assumed, but at minus 18. Yeah, so the mother rock is at minus 18. From there it starts. It's like solid, massive rock, like you can, yeah. And then these satellite people, we send them out there with their satellites. It's based on, how to say, the technology of radiation, and then the things that are reflected back. Very sophisticated stuff, because the technology is used to scan underground military bunkers, and even all these underground, how to say, tunnels that are like in Gaza, and going under the wall, and so on. So it's very high tech stuff. And we didn't need permission to do so, because we just flying over at um, so so they actually just skipped the first 18 meters, because they said, yeah, there are things there, but what we found there are, from minus 18, there are huge literally spaces there, like they say, like, spaces 30 meters wide, 70 meters long, and really massive spaces.
This is
And
amazing. Like,
those, yeah,
this is
and those
amazing.
spaces are actually really just picked out of the bare rock, and that really like completely flabbergasted me, because I was always focused on this first 80-meter level, and then suddenly they said, yeah, no, it goes way deeper. And so we have this level between 20 to 40 meters, and there's even a bigger one underneath it, that
Oh,
started at 40 to 60
this
meters.
is this is Lovecraftian.
Yeah.
It
and
really is.
and that's why I start really getting, how to say, like sweating. I said, oh my gosh, this is just something I was not really prepared for. Yeah.
You should be the next Petrie, but now you got shut. So we must get on. So what happened from there?
What happened
How
from
did it all
there?
go bad, or was there more good news before it went bad? I don't know.
So then we got involved with because now I'm talking to you, but in the past there were really hundreds of people involved, and they all more or less broke their neck on trying to get it done, because for some it was like they call gold fever or labyrinth fever, and,
Yeah.
and then we had like also documentary makers who said, yeah, like this very famous Carmen Bolter, she makes like this beautiful documentary, The Pyramid Code. She got involved. She also was able to bring in other scientists, and the whole idea was to make a documentary, being able to reveal it. But unfortunately, she died, like I think 3 or 4 years ago.
Sorry
Um,
to hear.
yeah. So then we had this big sponsor in Egypt. He's like, yeah, he has a big entrepreneur, in telecom and so on. And he said, yeah, he was interested to actually fund the whole thing. So at that time, we said, okay, we had the backup of this guy. He owned also like football clubs in Belgium and abroad as well.
Mhm,
And then we started to put this big team together, and we had the
mhm,
University of Berlin, Freie
mhm,
Universiteit of Berlin. We had also the University College London, which is a very well-known University College London. It's one of, yeah, because they are very related to Petrie as well. And then we had also the University of Torino, of Turin. Then we had like a whole collection of people who were involved, all the best persons on the field. It was like a dream team. And so then we pushed the whole project further towards, how to say, like putting the application there. And then after a couple of months, we had our own office. So I was able to get enough funding to have our own office in Cairo for actually over almost 2 years, working full time for us, and preparing the whole, how to say, permission application, the whole master preservation plan,
really? Okay,
because it
that's cool.
involved quite a lot of things.
Yeah,
Um, and then we had like, we were able to put, like, we had 48 assigned archaeologists and
that's
experts.
a lot. That's a
Yeah,
lot.
that's a lot, because and then because we also developed a total new concept of excavation, in the sense, normally if you enter there, you start putting out lines, and then we start, yeah, with shovels and pencils and things, and then you mostly clear out the surface. And if you want to go 1 or 2 meters deep, it might take years, because every layer, everything you discover has to be, like, how to say, noted down and so on. So and it's yeah, today's archaeology is not done anymore like in the past with dynamite and bulldozers. Yeah, it's really, it goes extremely slow and
Yeah.
extremely expensive. So therefore, non-intrusive, making drill holes, and they have these fancy geodesic structures on top of it, which protect us from desert storms, also the heat in the summer, because
Right.
all archaeological expeditions can only last for a couple of months, because they only do it in the springtime, because that's the best period. Otherwise it get like 40-50 degrees, and it's almost impossible to work. But these dome structures, uh, airlock type of systems, air conditioned type of systems with hazmat suits, we could actually lower all these um, how to say
Hazmat.
hazmat suit. Yeah, because if you open up a shaft into a space which has been open for at
There can
least
be
four to five
poison gas or something. Poisoned air.
poison
Yeah.
gases, not to mention
Yeah.
ancient
Yeah.
bacterial liver. So it's, yeah, you need to
Curses.
be really
Ancient
careful.
curses.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like the yeah, the curse of the labyrinth. So yeah, I
I
mean
know
to
this
take.
from I know this from in Canada. Even in I know when this happens a lot in Alberta where they have the tar sands where they're always digging the oil and the what do you call it when you get they do the fracking system of extraction from the ground. But there's like areas of Alberta which are like a wasteland with these big craters, and it's very kind of prehistoric and weird. But I know, and I knew from people that went to go work at this place that you can't just walk into a random crater there. That sometimes you can walk in and just drop dead. And this is the first I've heard of it, and just from like poisoned air and gas coming out of the ground because you got a hole in the ground. I didn't know that was possible, but yeah, I that's that's amazing. I'm sure it's even worse in a place like an ancient shaft that hasn't been opened in 1,000 years that goes, was it 20 meters into the ground? God knows what will come out of that. But yeah, go
Definitely.
on. Sorry, I just wanted to interrupt there. Why
And
not?
so, yeah, laser void scanners, drones. So the technologies exist actually, and then it could also be all, how to say, broadcasted live and so on. So that was something. But of course, you have also the security element, because you that's it's a desert zone, but it's very close to the Fayum city, where over 8 million people live in extreme poverty. It's also
Right.
and so if you go to Hawara today, people with really AK-47s are really protecting this thing, this desert, to make sure that there's no robbery and so
Right.
on. So as soon as you set up such a project, you need also security. Yeah, so that's
Right.
also like a big aspect. So, and that was
Yeah.
mostly the most difficult one to get permissions. To say, the security thing they always refer to. But after a couple of months, when we applied for it and we had like 50 centimeters of papers and documents, after 3 months, they said, yeah, it's all gone. It's disappeared, vanished. So we said, okay, let's print it all again. 3 months later, everything, we put it back there, and it disappeared again. So there's certainly something going on inside the Ministry of Antiquity that just eats documents related to the Hawara project.
Shit.
And then
Okay.
finally, we did it again for the third time, and I said, okay, you can come over to Egypt, and then you can speak for the whole Ministry of Antiquities and explain your project. So I was there, even assisted with somebody, Alia, from the embassy of Belgium, to get some more, I say, body to it,
Yep.
because they were always very supportive. So I'm not definitely not this kind of, how to say, yeah, fringe conspiracy. I always work together with very professional university teams
Yeah.
and authorities. So, and then suddenly, when I was sitting there, the whole board was there. This 40 people, the Council of Antiquities, the most prominent archaeologists of Egypt, who decide what happens with all the archaeology in Egypt or not. And then suddenly, this Italian guy from Roma entered the room, and he's just said, from, yeah, I'm taking over the whole project.
Oh,
I'm
what?
going to, yeah.
Mafia guy? Mafioso or what?
And I thought, from where is he coming from? He said, yeah, I spoke to the ministry, the how to say, the minister itself of antiquities, and I made a deal with him. Now I'm going to take it over. It's gonna just be me from Rome, Italy, Vatican, and the Egyptians, and nobody else is allowed. Nobody from the 48, because these 48 people were all very related to the research of Hawara, so they are the experts. So I was again completely shocked. So
Wow.
so
Okay.
and
So
and
what?
and he was
And
and so
who is he? What?
he was going to be funded by UNESCO, like United Nations, UNESCO, and they were going to fund everything.
And who gave him
So
permission to take over your project? Did he go directly to the guy that was funding you, the money guy?
no
Or
idea, because even it was already alles in his pocket. So he presented it, and I was just sitting there, just listening to it. He just copied the whole master preservation plan that I actually developed together with my team. Completely copied all the data, even the whole research of the National Research Institute. He integrated that into his presentation, and I was it was like, completely shocked. So I went back again to Spain then, um,
so
and
there's
I
nothing you
just
could
wait.
do. There's nothing you could do.
No,
This guy just took it over,
yeah, and
and
also
that was it.
imagine that I was like working on that thing for over 2 years with an own office, not to mention the whole monetary aspect of how much personal funding that I put in this thing, and I was like, suddenly there was like completely shut down. So they for me it was like a shocker. So I said, yeah, let's wait for UNESCO to come up with the funding. But really, I was like in Cordoba, and waiting for visiting Mesquita, and suddenly this woman came to me and she said, yeah, I'm working for UNESCO, and we know you, so don't worry, because UNESCO is never going to sponsor this thing, because first, the Hawara area is not even recognized as World Heritage. So, and she already know, but so I thought, from this is really weird. After this incident, nothing happened. Was nothing heard. This guy completely disappeared again. Um, yeah, and then our team said, okay,
He
the
disappeared again.
guy
So
from
he came and he just left. He didn't actually continue the work. He just left on his own accord.
just on his own accord. And even now, when I'm like looking,
Went down
trying
again.
to find this guy, who he was, or I'm not able to find anything about him, because he was working for the Italian government. Um, so, and then I said, okay, let's move forward again, because we invested so much, not only myself but also these archaeologists from the
Hmm.
University College London, and we have this very famous Dr. Geoffrey Tazzi, and they call him the desert gnome, because he's like a field director. If you are like an archaeologist and you're working for decades f- for your specific field of study, and then you said, okay, I'm going to go for this tomb, so you are not equipped to go up there and just manage like a field expedition. So you have guys who do it constantly, and Dr. Tadzi was one of the most famous. So he was like the most well-known field director, so he was like the professional digger. So he was able, he had like the last for decades, he was like doing excavation after excavation full time, because that was his job, and he was
Hmm.
connected to the University College London, and he had a
Hmm.
specialty in Hawara, because already in the year 2000 he did research there. So he was very well known about the labyrinth, the Fayum oasis, and Crocodilopolis, and so on.
Hmm.
And so he said, let's move it forward. So 2 days before he went to Cairo, he said, yeah, now I know how we're going to move it forward. I know where the points are of the obstructions. So he said, yeah, I'm going to talk with these guys from the Ministry of Antiquities. And so literally a couple of days later, my cultural heritage consultant, Bram Kalkoen, who knows them personally for many decades. She called me and said, "Yes, we sorry to say, but they actually threw me out of a taxi in Cairo. So he died in a taxi in Cairo. Yeah. So it happened to be the taxi very shortly after he visited the Ministry of Antiquities. Um, but it's not the end of the story, because it's he died in very strange conditions, because he was just in his 50s, and definitely not sick or anything at all. So dying in a taxi, and then his family wanted actually to have how to say, like an autopsy being done to know what's the origin of that. He was there for 3 months in the fridge. Nothing was able to be done there, and finally they cremated him, and they sent him back to England. So, and that was also the end of my yeah, that part of the story of the expedition application. And that was in 2000, late 2019.
So it all stopped
and
dead. It all stopped
and
dead with
then
that.
yeah, and then came the pandemic, and yeah, and so now, yeah, I went also like in a personal burnout. So I thought, this is just I need to actually go back to the drawing board, and see, yeah, where and what can be done, and then I start seeing really the big picture of what's going on today.
And what is that? What in your mind? What in your mind is the big picture of what's going on?
The big picture for myself,
In
it's
regards
a very
to
simple one, is I think that we are entering a new ice age, and there's some kind of massive earth change events coming up, like a solar nova, and there are many indicators. So our electromagnetic poles are shifting. Uh, they left actually already Antarctica, and on the other side, the magnetic pole actually split in two, which we have one part above Siberia, and the other one's moving towards Canada. Um, so they call it a geomagnetic pole wandering, or excursion. So it's not a shift, it's like, but our geomagnetosphere is becoming really weak as well. So that means that our geomagnetosphere is not protecting us so much against cosmic radiation. So all these strange weather events like polar vortex problems, and rainstorms, and so on, is because cosmic radiation is really bombarding us, and cosmic radiation is also, I'd say, and cloud seeding, and also cosmic radiation also penetrates deeply into the earth and affects the liquidity of the magma. So the magma is becoming more liquid, so we have more volcanic activity and more earthquakes. And that's what we see happening in the world. We also
okay,
have,
that's a bit more of a bigger picture than I meant. I meant the bigger picture of what's going on in Egypt and with like what
yeah, and so
you felt there was a conspiracy going on
the
at the highest
conspiracy,
levels, I believe, right? In
yeah.
regards to this, and
So if you
in
go,
regards to the community, the archaeological or historic and the antiquities community around the world, not just Egypt and the Egyptian military.
because
So
the
that's what I
thing
wanted
is,
to ask.
yeah, to come to the point is that this event is extremely well known, um, by an elite, an old elite, which actually is, that's my personal conviction, set up some kind of survival project to actually overcome what's coming up. So, and over the last 3,000 years, they overtook actually the whole economic system. They created the whole monetary system, all banking, all giant corporations, and now we are moving towards like World War III, which is actually going to shut down the whole system. And I call them like the black cube, because it's there are everywhere involved at the top levels, and including in managing actually ancient history, because ancient history is one of the keys to open actually the doors towards all this knowledge about what's going on today. And most people are completely oblivious about it, and I was for many years myself. So for me now, I'm very aware that the chances of opening or excavating the labyrinth of Egypt is zero to null, um, till these events actually took place. So and they are coming at an enormous speed. So, and we have seen this from starting in 2020, but it started way deeper in the past.
So they don't want anyone to excavate it. That's why no one, because you discovered that there's
Yeah,
something there.
yeah,
You are
because it's
responsible
not.
at least for that.
It's
And
it's it's
you would think if it was just the Egyptian government wanting the treasure, then they
yeah.
obviously then would have excavated it. But no one is no one has excavated the site, right?
No, no
Nobody.
one,
Nobody.
no
No.
one. And all the persons in place like Zahia was actually he's blocking the whole thing, but actually he is not even for me intelligent enough to actually understand what's happening there. So he's like a big bully who says nothing is there in front of the cameras. But he I met him several times. He's just this gatekeeper, but there are way more people behind him. And Hawara is also a very sensitive location as well, because Amenemhet III supposedly built this pyramid, but Amenemhet IV is this mysterious one, and he is related on many websites to be Moses. So you because yeah,
Okay.
it's also Moses was this pharaoh who took his people into the desert. The pyramid of Hawara is the last pyramid ever being built, and then afterwards there were no slaves anymore. So it's a very sensitive location, because Moses is not only a very important people for Christians, but also for Jews and Islam. So that would make the pyramid of Hawara and the labyrinth one of the most sacred places on earth. It's like a hotspot, because if he was the one who actually built it, not only the pyramids but the labyrinth as well. Also, the Hebrews were concentrated in the Fayum oasis, the first churches ever in existence, like the Gnostics and later the Copts. They were all related to the Fayum oasis and Hawara. So
Hmm.
it's like a very how to say acupuncture point in history, and it's pretty amazing that it's never been touched by anyone. Like,
So you think if you somehow if you won the lottery and had money to go back and you tried to go back, that they would by any means prevent you? They would send in some crazy Italian guy
I
or
I
shoot
do
you in a taxi or something.
I
But
do have millions at my position,
oh,
because the sponsor really put forward for millions of dollars. So I have the backup of millions of dollars. So
well,
and
let's go.
it's
Let's go. I'll go with you.
yeah, but you're hitting a wall constantly.
Right.
So it's not that, yeah. So the money is only going to start being spent as soon as you get the permission application. So and also Egypt is said to be very corrupt. There is no way to get around uh, the Ministry of Antiquities and actually the people who. So for me, people say from, yeah, Louis, you completely lost it, uh, but so far no one was actually pushing this for 15 years and experiencing all these things myself, all the way to people sitting next to me on a plane. They changed the seat of my partner.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there was like a transit from I think it was from Brussels to Istanbul, and then from Istanbul to Cairo, and then we need to take another flight. And this next to me, I booked this team member, and he was a vegetarian, so but he needed to sit on another chair. But the guy next to me, he was able to receive his vegetarian menu, and this guy was suddenly starting. He was like an expert in Hawara. He worked for a military organization specialized in counterintelligence. He said that the technology that we used for scanning the labyrinth was actually owned by his company, that there were working 27,000 people for him, and that he wanted to get involved in the project. And this all sitting next to me on a plane.
Weird.
Yeah,
That is weird. Yeah,
yeah. And
that is
and
weird.
and these things constantly happen. Yeah, one. So for me, I'm not this kind. I'm a very, how to say, pragmatic person.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm not really like going into a rational person.
Mm-hmm.
But after a certain moment, when you start to personal experience all these things, then start also to looking towards all the other projects, like the Eye of Africa, this giant feature there in the desert, which completely matches like the all these ancient authors about describing Atlantis. Um, and it's only very recently that this comes out of the ground. And I thought, from what happened all these hundreds of years, the people were actually looking towards these issues, and so that it's just one of the, how to say, examples. But there's a whole series of excavations and findings that, yeah, not for the Baalbek giant blocks.
Yeah.
So whole civilization, whole history is actually based on a giant deception. Yeah, and for me, in the past, I thought it was not intentional. Now I'm really pretty convinced it's like an intentional thing. Yeah, including, yeah, the
Including what?
whole system behind it, the whole monetary system, the whole actually. And now I'm talking possibly like a complete conspiracy person, but once you start to get into how it's structured, then suddenly the whole book opens, and it becomes really clear how everything actually fits together. Yeah.
And what do you
Uh,
think is their purpose for controlling history and for controlling antiquities? And what is the story they want to tell versus what is the real story? Would you have any? Do you even know, or would you have a theory?
my theory is, yeah, because it's not even my theory, it's just like what they tell themselves, is that yeah, between now and possibly this solar nova or something, I don't know exactly what it is, but and that's started in
So that's
2000.
how your talk of the solar nova. Someone else asked, how does his speculation on the weather and the magnetosphere fit in with this? But this is how it fits in. And you think it's
Because
related to the
if people start looking on the internet, it's just not like a fringe thing. It's huge. It's, you have like, yeah, some people refer to the grand solar minima. You have like, yeah, you have like these guys who are really specialized and constantly watching the sun, how it moves towards cycle 26 and so on. It's and it's very related to ancient civilizations, solar cycles. We have very well known solar cycles, like they call it the solar minima. We had the Dalton minimum and 200 years ago. We had the Maunder minimum 400 years ago. We had the Spurrier minimum. We had the Wolf minimum. Very well known climatic cycles related to the sun. The last one was 200 years ago, and that was the initiation of the French Revolution. So it's even that thing doesn't is not matching, because history is very connected to climatology, and so far, and in mainstream education, it's never matched. Although we have climate historians, but and then we have this big thing about today's how to say, climate change. There is definitely climate change, but not caused by cars and cow farts. So climate change, what we are dealing with, is even beyond people's, how to say, what they know. It's the climate change we are dealing with is really big, all the way to the fact that they are preventing cosmic radiation coming in by actually spraying the clouds with all these substances, like these heavy metals, and that's actually to create like a shielding, um, to prevent these cosmic radiations coming in, to create climatic disturbances and actually volcanic activity as well, because we have this super volcano in Italy who is just ready to pop off, not to mention the ones in Iceland and La Palma and all these things who are going on. Situation is really, yeah,
See, it's only a
indicate
theory though you have that it's somehow related to the climate. And what do you think would be hidden in the labyrinths that could be related to this
the
knowledge
the
of the
the
climate?
the what would be able to be hidden in is that the Egyptians refer themselves even on temples to their past, which was that their history, um, is actually history that they survived the end of the last ice age, which was marked by the solar nova. Um, and in there they have actually all the calculations that's described by this Albert Schlossmann is also like a historian who actually described the whole history, because 80% of hieroglyphs, most people are unable to translate them because they are too complex, and he actually was able to translate big plots of it, and he translated that the Egyptian calculated actually the the the, the time of when these cycles will come back, when these, and it's not, and so the Mayans and their calendars are not just, how to say, coming from the Mayans, but are all related back to what the Egyptians were able to actually uh, figure out, and possibly it's way older than that, because we assume also that the Egyptians were not able to travel that far, but there are quite a lot of proof there they were even able to go to South America, and so on. So they were already very globalized, and others as well, like
Right.
like the Chinese
Yeah.
and so on.
Yeah. Right. That is an interesting theory as well. Yeah. That there was a globe, and it does seem entirely possible. Yeah. And there was the business with the supposedly they found the evidence of tobacco in wasn't it in one of the mummies or something in Egypt?
Yeah, and
But then
cocaine as well.
one woman scientist found it, and then she was kind of ushered out and vanished, and then they didn't find it again or something.
Yeah,
That was the story with that one. So there's a lot of funny, and anybody you talk to with these things, it's a lot of funny business going on. And like in the very least, regardless of your theory about the weather, I'm not sure about that one. Maybe that does sound like it's entirely plausible. Whatever the reason would be, there definitely is a lot of weird carry on, and a lot of it, so you could say it's corruption, just straight up corruption and apathy, or just an inability in a place like Egypt to get it together. There is a lot of variables. There's a lot of people, like obviously great, interested, powerful parties that where their eyes suddenly turn on the discovery of something like that and the possible treasures within. And you can see how it would be a crux for world, for very nefarious, powerful characters of different types. And it is all very fascinating. And I don't know is there any other uh, major aspects of the story, or is that most of it? Would you say?
yeah. it's it's
There's more.
yeah,
If
I
there's more,
think this labyrinth is like a focus point of all these theories, let's say. So
yeah,
people who are busy with the solar nova are interested in the labyrinth. People who are coming from Atlantis are interested in the labyrinth. People who just very are just interested in the history of ancient Egypt are interested in the labyrinth. Um, yeah, so even people who are interested in aliens are interested in the labyrinth.
of
So
course, they're
yeah,
interested
so
in whatever they
it's like a
want to be.
huge, how to say, focus point
Yeah.
of many things. And as long, yeah, if it's like stays like this, the mystery will remain, and it looks like it's going to be like that at least for another 10 years.
Oh, right. Why 10 years? What's
Because the these elites, they started the last 70, because they have this kind of thing that it's also it's really completely weird, because it's how to say, it's very religious as well, in the sense that religion is a way to put in, how to say, these manuals into a book,
Mhm.
and the Bible itself is a very, it's for me, it reads like a manual, and it's also like performed as a manual. So it's the events that are taking place today are actually executed based on what's is in the Bible and in the Torah and all in these ancient, how to say, Kabbalistic books. So the big thing is there are 70 years, and every year is 70 weeks, and every week is 70 years. And so, and at the last week, at the last years, that will be, they call it the end times. and that's not my thing. It's like in every biblical book, and we are entering the last 7 years of the last week. So, and that started in 2022. That means that for between now and let's say 2028, 29, this time is the start of what they are consider the end times. Um, and that means that between now and let's say 2030, around from the 8 billion people that exist, we're going to be reduced all the way to 500 million or even less. Yeah, so that's like a massive thing. Is and they also talk about, they call it the beasts, they call it the behemoth versus the, now I lost the name, is another animal, a sea monster, the leviathan. Yeah,
Leviathan, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they are going to fight each other. So the leviathan is a sea monster, and being related to the United States being a seafaring power connected to Europe, the West actually. The behemoth is the land-based monster, which is called the Middle East, Islam, and China and Russia. And the Leviathan is more the Christianity. And so these are going to be provoked into a war, and they will just kill each other off. And then afterwards, because it's in this the Bible. I'm not definitely not a believing person. I'm more into like this life force guy. So, but I'm just right, yeah, talking about what's written in this book, and then afterwards there will come like solar events, and then afterwards we have these two messiahs, Ben Joseph, which is called the Antichrist, which is going to initiate this whole war. And afterwards, where almost nobody is still alive anymore, and people will be crawling out of the caves, then this Messiah, Messiah Ben David will come, and then we will enter the new earths. New earth is a biblical term. Many people now from New Age, they use it, new earth, but and I think, yeah, it's all related to these ancient calendars, that because in the ancient times people were very sophisticated and very prominent astronomers. So I think they figured out what kind of thing that triggered actually these events. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. That is definitely more conspiratorial than the other part of the story, though. That is
Yeah.
definitely, that is a bit more conspiratorial, and I don't know how I feel about that. I tend to be a bit more. I don't know. When I read the Bible, I didn't get that out of it myself. I wasn't even profoundly affected by it in any particular way, to be honest. But I understand it is sort of a powerful book, and obviously, I can't deny that. But in terms of the dig and what you said, you mentioned in 10 years you thought there might be a chance of doing something. Is that in relation to what's going to happen in the world, or was there any reason you said 10 years? Do you think?
Yeah, because I think in 10 years it doesn't matter for this the people, let's say, call them
Oh,
the
because
black.
there's only going to be 5 million of us, and the world will be, and you'll be able to walk into Egypt and do what you want. Is that it?
Yes, and then it doesn't matter to keep the whole population in I'd say in ignorance about all this thing, because the ones who will be able to survive this thing, they will have to say got the sufficient information themselves to be able to prevent being one of those 8 billion who won't survive it.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you'll be able to go there, and there'll be no weird Italian guys going to walk up on top of you. It'd just be You'll be able to go there and stake out your land the thing you discovered, and start digging, I guess. So
Yeah,
if you
but
could go there now, sorry, go on.
I think they are very aware that it's there. So I think there are possibly backdoors already somewhere in existence in the neighborhood to enter
Right.
these spaces.
It'd be
So
hard to believe that the Egyptians, wouldn't have tried to get into it.
yeah.
It would be
So
hard to believe, wouldn't it? And those
yeah.
sons of bitches would probably just loot it. They wouldn't even. Would they even museum it? I don't know. It depends who it is. Depends who's in charge of it.
Yeah.
You could get some specific, just like all-out gangster guy who would literally just take it out, take the priceless antiquities and melt down the gold, and buy himself a nice mansion in Miami or some cheesy thing, some fool. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah, but
hopefully not.
yeah, I think it's very well secured. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um,
So you do have the money potentially to go back, but you don't think the system or the world is going to let you go back. Do you keep trying? Do you keep they keep the candle alive and the flame alive in your heart?
yeah, I
Do you
keep the
try?
I keep the candle alive, but
Keep the
I'm
candle
I'm
burning?
not wanting to risk my life literally anymore to go up there. Certainly seen this situation. It's always been an advantage to be just this joker artist, and not being a reputed scientist connected to university, because those ones are way more greater risk to risk, not only how to say their reputation, but definitely their lives as well. So
Hmm.
I'm fine here on my mountain in the Sierra Nevada, far away from crazy world. So yeah, and yeah, I don't, yeah, gonna deny it, but I'm extremely frustrated about what happened. Certainly, if you're looking for 15 years to get something done, and while the whole world is like sending emails to you from why are you not continue, and things like this. Also a million promises of people who say, yeah, we're gonna help, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, but in the end nobody actually does anything, um, really, yeah, to push it forward. So yeah, I'm
Well, I mean,
fine here.
that's what I would like to. I mean, this little thing here, we're doing a video, and I'd like to write
Yeah,
about it and talk to you more about it, and
yeah.
maybe we can, begin to get some awareness of it again. If we don't just get immediately shut down and, killed by
Yes, yeah, yeah.
or whatever.
So
But
yeah,
yeah, we give
yeah,
it a go. Anyways,
yeah,
we give it
yeah.
another go to get the message out. Stained Glass Zealot says it's now going down underwater destruction. So you were saying it's partially flooded. So you figure that water is going into the labyrinth as well, and it's some
But
getting wrecked
it's
underground.
the water is shallow groundwater. That means the water is coming in from the sides, from agriculture, but it doesn't go deeper than a couple of meters. So it's also
Right.
desert. It's a really, the sun is beating up this plain coast, so it evaporates, but it doesn't really go that deep, and definitely not deeper than 80 meters.
Yeah. Right. So that's not so much of a worry, anyways.
Yeah,
So maybe there's a way to make maybe something, maybe something, some change will happen, something will break, or there'll be some awareness raised enough. There should be awareness and interest
yeah,
enough that the world would turn their eyes on it and say, look, let's get down
yeah,
to the bottom of this. I know the world's in a lot of jeopardy and wars on various
yeah,
fronts, but I mean,
yeah.
this is one of the great wonders of the ancient world, sitting there a few meters
Yeah,
under some sand.
possibly the greatest one. Yeah, because today there are many people like Graham Hancock and all these really, Gaia TV, millions of people are watching these documentaries on, yeah, like ancient apocalypse and so on Netflix. And if Graham Hancock went to Egypt and he did a tour together with Zahia Was, and they were visiting 13 locations, the most important locations of Egypt, together with Graham Hancock, and the labyrinth was one of them. Yeah, so he went to the labyrinth. So they are very aware about the labyrinth. Um, but yeah,
Have you tried talking to him? Have you tried getting a hold of him at all? Was there any hope of that?
actually, I know him personally. I went to Bath. I went to talk to him in his office. So we had like a very nice conversation, and I showed him all the results at the time. And he said, from as soon as there's any kind of, how to say, interesting evolvement, uh, so just yeah, just email me. So
Hmm.
he was very open. I mentioned the title, the the library of the gods, and then he was like really fascinated by it. So maybe it would do for a good book of him, I don't know. But so far, yeah, that's where it's, because he did, for me, the strange thing about Graham Hancock is that in the fingerprints of the gods he mentioned the whole theory, towards the end of the last ice age. He related it to the sun, and then in this Hollywood movie it was also related to the sun. It was called 2012. But then in his last book, The Magicians of the gods, he just completely turned around, and then he went the direction, this person, Randall, um, I think this American scientist, um, that it was a meteorite, so it was like a one-time event, and we don't have to worry because it was just one-time event, and that's its end of story.
Right.
So for me, it's like a very strange turn there.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, that is strange. So if you have the money, you say. So if you said, okay, let's go there, let's in a month's time, let's go back to Egypt, and let's try and do it again, and you have to set up all the things you set up before. So what would be the main thing stopping you, preventing you, other than hopefully people wouldn't mysteriously start dying or anything? Let's just assume everything was rosy. So would it be that you would need permission from the Museum of Antiquities? Would that be the first step, and you don't think you would get it? Or from, like, what would stop you from putting a shovel in the ground exactly if you were there again now?
because we still have all the people who are interested to do it. So it would be a matter of putting all files together, update them, put them forward, not only to the Ministry of Antiquities, but also to the military and the national security and all these instances. If we will
Mhm.
clearance from them all, then in a matter of weeks, we would be able to get our feet on the ground in Hawara, and just start drilling. Um, yeah, so it's very, it's yeah, we are like been always standby. So it's would be like, yeah, in a matter of, in a couple of, yeah, let's say 1 or 2 months, we could just put the whole expedition in place, because there are so many people in Egypt who we have contacts with, like all the way to the tech guys and everything,
Yeah, well, we
including
should see then if we can. Like, I know a couple people in Egypt, not important people, but I can
yeah.
ask them like who you would talk to get it going,
It's
to get permission.
it's
And but I mean, under their supervision, if you give them if you have to give them some clause or contract that they can, they own whatever you find or something. You just want the
for them,
glory.
it's definitely not about owning, because the thing is that everything which is discovered there is directly property of Egypt, so nobody
Hmm.
can own anything there.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Also, every step you take there, you have always three inspectors of the Ministry of Antiquities constantly watching what's going on there. So that's a part of your team. You have like a whole battery of inspectors constantly watching that nobody's even putting like a pottery piece in his pocket. So
Mm.
not to mention like yeah. So
Right.
it's extremely high standards there. Yeah.
It's not like doing archaeology. I actually myself did a stint in art. I'm also an artist who did a brief. I worked on an archaeological dig here, but mine is more funny. I had a funny story. You reminded me of it. I'll just say it quickly. Where
Yeah.
I uh, I'm not an archaeologist. I enjoy history and particularly art history. So I was able to slip in there and do it fine. And I'm also like pretty strong. I can dig. Mostly it was digging. That was the
Yeah.
job. But at what by there was a little bit of scandal around this site because it was bought by some foreign group, Saudis or Chinese or something, to build apartments, and they were rushing it through, and they found this Iron Age ring fort. But
Ah,
I
okay.
being the green, I being the novice, the green guy that didn't know his archaeology that well, on one of the first days I was there, I was hopping
Yeah.
over the wall to get into the site, and I got some woman came up to me and said, what are you doing? What's going on here?" And I, not being an archaeologist, I screwed up and I said, "Oh, we found what did I say? We found a Bronze Age, whatever."
Yeah.
I meant to say
Yes.
Iron Age. I said Bronze Age, and then I
Yes.
caused
Yes.
this scandal scandal in the local news that went all the way up to like CNN. Eventually, it was published in CNN like a week later. Bronze Age temple found in Ireland, like
Yeah.
from me not knowing what I was
Yeah.
talking about. This
Yeah.
woman was a journalist, I guess. So that was just a funny anecdotal story of my archaeological fun.
Yeah. This thing does remind me to, because when we got the permissions and everything, and we were able then to scan, and then we had finally the, how to say, the inf- the research, the results. But then
Hmm.
even to be able to make them public, you need permission as well. So we actually it took like 8 months for just being able to release the scientific information towards the scientific community. But then afterwards, when we said, okay, that's now released, so we will now move forward with informing the public, the wider public, then came this backlash from Egypt. They said, you didn't have the permission to actually make this public, so everything related to what you actually communicate, you have to take down. So all the websites were taken down, everything was taken down. So including was this international communique towards all major press offices not to publicize anything anymore about the labyrinth. And that was in a matter of days that it happened. Yeah.
So why?
Globally.
What reason would there be? What was the reason given that you're not allowed to publish anything?
Because it's done with every expedition in Egypt. Sometimes people they discover a tomb or something, not really like a special one, and then sometimes they have to wait for even up to 10 years to be able to get the permission to say that what they actually discovered. Yeah. So,
but with you not being a citizen of Egypt and being outside of Egypt, though, would you not be free to do what you want?
Yeah, that's what I did in the end. So after a couple of years, I said, no, I'm going just to release everything. So initially we had already this initial release, which was actually unlawful. And then Zahi said to me, we put you on the blacklist, which means if I enter Egypt, I'm considered like a state dangerous person, and I got and eligible for capital punishments. So
I was
not able. Yeah.
And is that still true now? Is that true today?
No, because I was able then with the sponsors and all these my contacts to actually take this thing away again, and I said, okay, it was like a misunderstanding. But again, after a couple of years, we had then the Arab Spring in 2011 and so on. Then Zahi was he fled to the United States, and then there was another minister, and I said, now we can move forward with the release itself. Yeah. So,
well, it is fascinating. It is fascinating. Yeah. So what's the next step for you? What are you doing? I know you're working on your ecology stuff, and you're more interested in the weather and things at the moment. But what are your plans at the moment? I think we'll put a conclusion on it now, if you don't mind, and then for now we'll do another video, and I'll do some writing on it myself, and we'll try to get more interest in it again for you. But put a conclusion on what we've talked about so far today, if you can.
I built this underground labyrinth. It's myself up here in the mountains of Spain. It's called the Biblioteca del Sol. It's a library, and I'm collecting books up there as a kind of cultural arc. And that's what I do here. Yeah, so I collect books, and I archive them, and I put them in this underground library high up in the mountains at 2,000 meters above sea level. And I'm having an off-grid sustainable life as an almond farmer.
Nice. That sounds lovely.
Yeah.
That sounds great. Okay, well, that's good. And you're just we're looking for a chance, and you're looking to get the message out about what happened and what you think about it, and maybe can we get back and can we uncover the labyrinth of Egypt?
The labyrinth.
Which you found.
Yeah.
Well, you found the ultimate evidence of you. Yeah. You know, because Petrie put an end to the story for a while. So this man deserves this credit for this. And
so let's continue.
Yeah, let's continue. So I guess there we go. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Louis, and I'll talk to you again soon. And hopefully we'll get more interest in this, and definitely you have to publish a book and do things like this, and hopefully somehow you can get back there.
A book, that's a great idea to do. That's the next thing.
Yeah, you can self-publish on Amazon, and that's what I do. But we'll talk again about about it again, right? So that was great.
Many thanks, Brandon.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Louis.
Bye-bye.
Okay, everybody. Bye-bye. Bye.